So that opening clip right there was from the intro to the show American Gods. Somebody had mentioned it to me a couple days ago because they were just noticing how much occult symbolism was in there, and specifically the crucified spaceman, and just were kind of speculating on, why they would have thrown that in there, and just kind of relating it to the whole broader idea of if and or when the whole thing crumbles, the whole NASA facade, the whole deception is exposed, on a worldwide scale. What that could mean is that part of the plan, essentially throwing NASA and the whole Copernican scientism establishment under the bus, and then ushering in, whatever comes after that, right? So, so that's a great topic right there that I wanted to try and dive into. And at the same time, in the past couple of days, there's been a lot of developments in terms of the front page story that was in the Denver Post, and all these meetups and exposure, and Mark Sargent suddenly getting a lot of attention from mainstream media folks and HBO and people calling him, and he's talking about this, and people are getting very excited about going mainstream, right? About all this exposure, and are we going to break through? And it's, they're actually asking if it's going to, if the whole thing's going to blow up even before we get to the conference in the fall. And at the same time, I've been posting all these videos talking about the quantum physics aspects of scientism and how it's all part of the same occult-based Copernican cosmology system. You can trace all these things back, and I've been working on putting these pieces together for months and months now. And the more you get into the quantum theory, the more it bleeds into all the simulation theory stuff. And I've been showing example after example of all the main talking heads from scientism totally pushing this idea of the simulation and the multiverse and all this stuff. And so then today, for whatever reason, I happened to listen to Mark Sargent talking on this Truth Frequency radio program about the flat earth and about all this exposure and the idea of going mainstream and everything. And lo and behold, what do I hear them talking about? But the host openly connecting Mark Sargent's, video game concept of the enclosed world, of the Truman Show reality, where he always uses the video game idea, with simulation theory. And then connecting simulation theory to all these other New Age concepts and teachings that I've already been talking about. And so as much as I've wanted to give Mark the benefit of the doubt in terms of thinking that maybe the video game analogy is just an analogy because that's what he worked in, and he's not necessarily advocating all these New Age teachings, I can't do that anymore. So in the end, it's really sad because you hear them, making fun of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and yet, regardless of whether you believe in an enclosed cosmology or a vast Copernican cosmology, at the end of the day, you're still embracing this whole idea of the computer code simulated universe. So in the end, what difference does it make?
Mark was, he came under ridicule at first by some of the people in the flat earth community because of his video game analogy and how things don't really have to make that much sense. Like the sky, for example. If the sky is a digital projection over us, and they can do whatever they want with the sky, which answered some of the questions and anomalies, because there are one or two anomalies in the flat earth hypothesis, but it doesn't mean that it proves the globe, because there are like 6,050 million holes in the globe theory. So, we don't have an exact explanation for everything, but he came under ridicule for some of the video game stuff. But then when I took that next level to that next step, which is artificial reality, then I said, oh, wait a minute. Mark knew this from the very beginning. He was totally on point, despite what the naysayers were saying, despite the ridicule. he was spot on with his analysis. And so I would herald him as the champion of the flat earth community. But the way that I see it is the universe is a university, and we've come here to learn. And we break all of these different barriers. We break the political, we break the truth movement stuff. Like I went through the whole truther programming and then broke through that, went to the flat earth, et cetera, et cetera. And it's these different layers of awakening. And I think when we get to a certain point, then maybe it's time to break out of this actual construct. And that's what it's all about. And there's some people that just won't get it in this lifetime, and that's okay. And there's some people that won't even get the political paradigm in this lifetime, and that's okay. But it's an evolution that we go through. And I think that the people in the flat earth community are really the tip of the spear when it comes to the consciousness breaking through. I would say that the next level after that is the simulation, realizing that this is a simulation. And it's funny because I'll go to people and I'll say, what do you think about flat earth? Oh, that's ridiculous. What do you think about simulation? Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of scientific data to back that up. And I'm like, so wait a minute, hold on. So you're telling me the globe is real, but we live in a simulation. Do you see the the paradox there?
And that's because of the conditioning. The flat earth is the only conspiracy, if you call it a conspiracy, is the only concept we debunk to children. That's it. Whereas we tell them to embrace the technology, we tell them to embrace the video game type world. And look, as tools evolved, it kind of keeps up with what our current level of technology is. So beforehand, it's like, oh yeah, God had a hammer and a chisel, and then he had a power saw, and then it's like, look, God's a coder. He's a developer, plain and simple. It's not that hard to figure out now. If we're coding, he's coding, he or she or whatever. He's coding a lot better than we are in languages that are still mind-boggling to us.
Well, speaking of computer code, there was a guy named Professor Gates. I don't remember his first name, but he's a quantum physicist, and he claims to have found a computer code embedded within the fabric of reality, a self-correcting computer code. Now, it's not just any computer code. It's a computer code written by a guy named Claude Shannon in the 40s.
Why Claude Shannon?
That's his computer code. This is what he found. They found his computer code embedded in the fabric of reality.
All of it?
All of it.
All of it. It's in its entirety.
Yeah. Isn't that insane? That completely changes the dynamic if that's true. Now, he was on a panel and there were 3 or 4 naysayers and, you're misinterpreting the data, et cetera, et cetera. It gets even weirder. He made these things called adinkras. And adinkras are this computer code made of the fabric of reality put into a computer and spat out into a graphical interface. The graphical interface, when you look at an adinkra, it's like a very, very intense DMT trip. Like as soon as I saw it, I said, hey, that's hyperspace right there. That's exactly what we see when we go into these deeper states of DMT. And so that started to really paint a different picture for me. Like, wait a minute, if this is a simulation, maybe the ayahuasca and the shaman have been seeing the computer code from the very beginning. They're able to manipulate the computer code, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact that they found a computer code written in the 40s is chilling. It's something to look into.
Why not? And I hadn't really thought about this until now. I mean, if linear time is really just an illusion, then why couldn't you borrow from different eras and modify it? Let's say you did run into, I won't call him an idiot savant. Let's just call him way ahead of his time, whoever he was. Let's say you found some of his code. It's like, you know what? That's pretty good. Whoever built this place. I'm not saying, that God didn't have a hand in it, of course, but maybe an advanced civilization borrows from every. It was something I've been talking about for a while anyway, which is every civilization that lives on the surface seems to be allowed to progress naturally, to create, again, not only their own novelty, but their own problem-solving abilities and their own, even development's a form of art. So why not use it? Look at what makes us different from the other civilizations before us. That's really good. I like that.
Could you imagine if God is like a 6-year-old kid with a Minecraft server? And that's what all this is. It's just a
Minecraft.
Or some really sick person that, used to play The Sims and then like left it running and totally forgot about it.
Oh, I've thought of that as well.
Yeah.
Where the automated, yeah. Well, if you've played The Sims before, well, not just The Sims, but the old Sim Cities. If you leave it all on overnight, you come back, it's like, what the heck happened here? And then you spend the time. Yeah, there's definitely automated parts to this system, no question. And in fact, I'm trying to figure out the little subtle nuances, like the greatest UFO sighting of all time, the 1561 Nuremberg event.
I spoke to Michael Tellinger, the ancient alien guy, and he told me something off air that he said on a show, so I can repeat it because he said it on a show, but not on our show. I tried to get him on to talk about this, but he's totally on board with the flat earth stuff. And I said, well, how does this play into all the ancient alien stuff? And he goes, oh, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense that they would come from a lot closer than from coming from, billions of light years away, et cetera, et cetera. He goes, it ties all of it in together. And I said, well, come on and let's talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Not yet.
Even though he mentioned it on one show, which was really cool. But even the ancient alien guys are getting on board and saying, hey, you know what? This makes a lot more sense than the theories we've been presented before.
Sure. Well, I still, because I'm a little hard on science sometimes, I still find it amazing that science can use things like the double slit experiment and just claim it for science. That's basically, science is basically magic without mystery. It's like, okay, we can repeat it enough times, and the average person can repeat it with the same sort of equipment. It's not magic anymore. It's science. And you look at the double slit experiment, where things change depending on if they're observed or not. And they're claiming this for science. Like, well, it's repeatable. I'm going, yeah, but you have no idea what's going on. Just because it's repeatable doesn't mean it's in your realm now. It's in your ballpark. And how can a true scientist even sleep at night knowing the double slit experiment even exists? But
right.
That's just me.
Well, I mean, even the definition of science is to question, re-question, re-theorize, re-experiment, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to this particular topic, science turns into a dogma at that point.
Right. Right. And again, I'm not knocking science. Look, they've made some wonderful things over the years. Air conditioning, light bulbs, the telephone. Hey, all great things. Thumbs up. Yeah, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, actually not that much different. Where he's going, science is right, whether you believe in it or not. And it's like, ooh, I don't know if I'd make a statement like that. Basically, there's things that there's science that are actual fact, absolutely factual.
So who made the simulation?
Some snot-nosed kid in the parents' basement of an alien civilization who's bored and they're more advanced than we are, and they have way more computing power than we are.
Right, so it's like a little handheld Nintendo you can
exactly.
Could you imagine if God is like a 6-year-old kid with a Minecraft server? And that's what all this is. It's just a
Minecraft. Some snot-nosed kid in the parents' basement of an alien civilization.
What?